Emma never believed in love. Not because she didn't want it, but because she was terrified of losing anything she dared to care about. Until she met Michael. He stepped into her life quietly, with that steady calm that made the world feel a little less chaotic. And for the first time, she found someone who understood her silence better than her words. But there was something about Michael. A heaviness behind his eyes. A truth he carried carefully. As if he knew a single sentence could change everything. And the day that truth finally surfaced, Emma's entire world shifted forever. Now she has to choose. Face the fear and stay. Or run before it breaks her. Welcome to Lost Stories in Lyrics, the place where stories come to life and inspire transformation. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Emma had always photographed life from a distance. Not just physically, though her favorite lens was a 200mm telephoto that let her capture people without ever getting close, but emotionally. She watched the world through a viewfinder, keeping a safe space between herself and anything that could touch her for real. At 28, Emma had built a solid career as a freelance photographer in Seattle. Her work was good, technically flawless, perfect compositions, beautiful lighting. But something was missing. Editors often told her that her photos, as striking as they were, felt detached. Like she was shooting through glass. And they were right. Emma photographed weddings without believing in forever. Families without understanding what it meant to belong. People embracing without knowing what it felt like to be truly held. You need to connect more, her agent Rachel had told her recently. Your photos are gorgeous, Emma, but they don't hit. And photos that don't hit don't sell. But Emma didn't know how to connect. Not anymore. Not after everything she'd learned about love. She was 15 when her mother died of cancer. 18 when her father, who never recovered from the loss, suffered a fatal heart attack. 21 when her first real relationship ended because, in his words, loving you feels like loving a ghost. You're here, but never really here. So Emma made a decision. Observing was safer than participating. Capturing other people's moments was safer than creating her own. Staying unattached was safer because attachment meant loss, and she had already lost more than enough. Her apartment reflected her life philosophy: minimalist, neat, temporary. Rental furniture. Bare walls except for one photo, the last picture she'd taken with her parents, 3 weeks before everything changed. It was the only image in her home that felt real. Raw. Human. Emma woke up alone, worked alone, ate alone, slept alone. She had acquaintances, not friends. Flings, not relationships. An address, not a home. And she was perfectly empty. Everything changed on a rainy October afternoon. Emma was at a small bookstore in Pike Place Market, looking for visual inspiration in photography books, when she rounded a corner too fast and knocked over a stack of them. "Whoa, easy there," a warm voice said. A man crouched down to help her pick them up. When Emma looked up, she found a genuine smile and brown eyes that seemed to hold their own stories. "Sorry," Emma muttered, gathering the books quickly. "No need to apologize. Happens to everyone." He picked up one of the books, glancing at the cover. Ansel Adams. "You into photography?" "I'm a photographer." "Yeah?" His eyes lit with genuine interest. "What kind?" "Events. Mostly weddings." Emma was already preparing to leave, ready to shut the conversation down before it became anything. Must be something, capturing people's happiest days. He held out his hand. "I'm Michael." Emma looked at his hand for a moment before giving it a brief shake. "Emma. Nice to meet you, Emma. I teach literature at the university. I get a little obsessed with stories, so, sorry if I seem overly curious. It comes with the job." There was something about the way he spoke, unhurried, calm, present, that made Emma pause. Normally she would have walked away by now. But something kept her there. Literature, she repeated. What kind? Modern poetry, mostly. I teach my students to find the extraordinary in the ordinary. He smiled in a way that made something shift in Emma's chest. Like running into a photographer in a bookstore on a rainy afternoon. Emma should have walked away. Should have said a polite, "Nice meeting you," and disappeared. But instead she found herself asking, "Do you always talk like that? Kinda poetic?" Michael laughed, a warm, honest sound. Only when I'm nervous. Why would you be nervous? Because I'm trying to work up the courage to ask if you want to grab a coffee with me. And I'm not great at this. Emma felt the familiar urge to run. To come up with an excuse. To put distance back where it belonged. But there was something in his eyes, kindness, patience, that stopped her. Okay, she heard herself say. Coffee. They walked to a small cafe on the corner. Emma ordered her usual Americano and sat, preparing for an hour of polite small talk before never seeing this man again. But Michael didn't ask small questions. He asked about her photos, about what she saw through her lens, about what it was like to capture moments that weren't hers. And when Emma tried to give technical answers, he gently pushed past them. But what do you feel when you shoot? He asked. Not what you think. What you feel. The question disarmed her. No one had ever asked her that. I don't know. Safe, I guess. Separate. Safe from what? Emma stared at her coffee, the words slipping out before she could swallow them. From having to actually be there. From having to feel anything. Michael didn't judge or flinch. He just nodded, as if he understood completely. I used to be that way with books. Lived in other people's stories because it was easier than living my own. What changed? He went quiet for a moment, something flickering in his eyes, something she couldn't name. Sadness? Acceptance? I realized life doesn't wait for you to be ready. It just happens. And you can watch it pass or you can jump in, even if you're terrified. The weeks that followed were the strangest of Emma's life. Michael showed up at the bookstore whenever she was there. They had coffee, talked about everything and nothing. He brought poems he wanted her to read. She showed him photos she'd never shown anyone. Why do you keep these hidden? He asked one afternoon, looking through raw portraits she'd taken years earlier, people alone in moments that hurt. Waiting for buses alone. Sitting on park benches staring into nothing. Crying in the shadows. Because they're real, Emma said quietly. Because that's how I feel most of the time. Michael looked at her with so much understanding that something cracked inside her. You don't have to feel that way alone, he said gently. And in that tiny cafe, with rain tapping against the windows, Emma realized something terrifying. She was starting to care. And caring meant vulnerability. Vulnerability meant loss. Michael, she began, but he interrupted softly. Hey, no pressure. I'm not asking for anything. I just like being around you. That can be enough. But it wasn't enough, not for what Emma was beginning to feel. And that scared her. By week 5, Michael finally asked her out on a real date. Not coffee, he said. An actual dinner. With bad restaurant lighting and everything. Emma said yes. And that night, wearing a dress she hadn't put on in years, looking at herself in the mirror, she let herself feel something she hadn't allowed in a long, long time, hope. Dinner was perfect. Michael was funny, present, thoughtful in a way Emma had never experienced. They talked until the restaurant closed. And when he walked her home and asked to see her again, she said yes without thinking twice. But then, standing at her apartment door, holding her hand softly, He said something that changed everything. "Emma, before this goes any further, there's something you need to know about me." In his voice, the fear, the honesty, the hint of goodbye, Emma felt the shift instantly. Something was wrong. Very wrong. "What is it?" she whispered, her heart already shutting down, already preparing to run. "I have a heart condition," Michael said, steady but gentle. "Familial hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's progressive. Rare. And there's no real cure." Emma's world froze. The words didn't make sense. They couldn't make sense. Because she had just begun to feel something again, just cracked open a corner of her armor, just considered letting someone in. And the universe answered, "Too late. You'll lose him too." "How long?" she heard herself ask, hollow. "They're not sure. Could be years. Could be less." Michael gave her hand a soft squeeze. "I understand if you want to walk away. I wouldn't blame you." Emma pulled her hand back as if burned. I need to go. Emma." "No," she was already inside, closing the door. "I can't. I'm sorry. I can't." She slid down the door and finally cried. Because of course. Of course, the moment she lets someone in, it had to be someone she would eventually lose. The universe wasn't just cruel, it was clear, Emma wasn't meant to love. She was meant to observe. To photograph. To stay on the outside of life. Michael called in the days that followed. Texted. Showed up at the bookstore. But Emma hid. Blocked him. Disappeared. She went back to her old life, work, home, emptiness. Photographed a wedding and felt even less than before. Every bride's smile, every teary toast, every whispered "forever," hurt in ways she didn't know she could hurt. Because now Emma knew exactly what she was missing. Before, it had been hypothetical. Now it had a face, a voice, the smell of coffee and old books. 2 weeks after cutting him off, Emma stood in her empty apartment staring at the only photo on her wall, her parents smiling, happy, unaware of what was coming. And she understood something for the first time. They hadn't known. They'd loved anyway. They built a life knowing, like everyone does deep down, that none of this is guaranteed. And when it ended, it shattered them. But they had something. They lived. They cared. They were real to each other. And Emma? She had nothing. She had safety, sure. Protection from pain. But she also had no joy, no connection, nothing that made life worth living. She had been so busy avoiding death that she had forgotten to live. Emma picked up her phone, staring at Michael's blocked number. Her finger hovered over the screen, fear and hope fighting for space inside her. She could let him go. Stick to her safe, empty life. Or she could be brave. Truly brave, for the first time in years. Emma unblocked the number and typed. "Can we talk?" The reply came almost instantly. Always. They met at the same cafe where everything had started. Michael arrived first, his hands wrapped nervously around a cup that had already gone cold. When Emma walked in, he stood up instinctively, then froze halfway, unsure. "Hey," she said, her voice fragile. "Hey." They sat in uncomfortable silence for several seconds. Emma watched his hands, the same hands that had held hers so gently. Now they looked distant, guarded. "I didn't come here to give you hope," Emma began, forcing herself to be honest. "I came because I need to understand. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Before I started to feel something?" Michael took a long breath. "Because I wanted you to meet me first. Michael, the teacher who loves poetry. Michael, who makes terrible jokes. Michael, who exists right now. Not Michael, the diagnosis. It's the same person. Is it? He challenged gently. Because the second I told you, you didn't see me anymore. You saw a walking expiration date. His words hurt because they were true. Emma had seen the illness, not the man. My parents died, she said abruptly. My mom when I was 15. My dad 3 years later. And I swore I would never get attached to anyone again because losing someone hurts too much, and her voice cracked. And then you show up, and for the first time in years I want to. I really want to try. And the universe tells me I'm going to lose you too. Michael reached across the table, not touching her, just offering his hand. Emma, we're all going to go someday. Eventually. I just know a little more about the timing. How do you do that? Emma asked, eyes full of tears. How are you not terrified? Who says I'm not? Michael gave a sad smile. I wake up every day knowing it might be one of the last good ones. But I have a choice. I can spend that day afraid, or I can spend it living. And living is the only rebellion I have left. Emma stared at his hand. Every part of her wanted to run, to protect herself before it hurt even more. But a small, brave voice whispered something else. I don't know if I can do this, she admitted. Then don't promise forever, Michael said softly. Promise today. And tomorrow, if you still want to, promise tomorrow. One day at a time. Emma finally took his hand. And she felt not just the warmth, but the weight of the choice. It wasn't surrender. It was courage. One day at a time, she repeated. The months that followed tested Emma in ways she never imagined. Michael had episodes where his heart raced for no reason. Long hospital nights. Medications that left him exhausted. And each time, Emma felt fear pulling her back toward the safety of distance. But she stayed. Shaking, scared, but present. You don't have to do this, Michael told her one night in the hospital after another scare. I won't blame you if you go. I know you won't, Emma said, squeezing his hand. But I would blame myself. There were moments of unexpected beauty. Michael teaching Emma how to read poetry, not just skim words. Emma showing him how to capture light, not just images. They cooked together, even when Michael was too weak to stand long. They watched bad movies and traded sarcastic comments. They existed. Take a picture, Michael said one afternoon, lying on her couch with sunlight spilling across his face. Why? Because this moment is real. And I want you to remember that it was real. Emma grabbed her camera, but for the first time, she didn't use the 200mm lens. She used a 50mm, the one that forced closeness. And when she looked through the viewfinder, she saw not the illness, but the man. Smiling. Alive. Here. She clicked. But not everything was poetic. There was the night Emma broke, screaming that it wasn't fair, that she never asked to love someone who would leave her. Michael only held her while she cried, not trying to fix anything, just being there in the pain. I love you, he said when she finally quieted. And that's going to hurt you. But Emma, not loving because you're scared of pain, that doesn't protect you. It just kills you slowly. And Emma understood then that this journey wasn't about learning to not be afraid. It was about being afraid and choosing to love anyway. 6 months after his diagnosis, Emma put together a small exhibit of her photos. They were unlike anything she'd ever made, intimate, vulnerable, real. Many were of Michael. Some were moments of her alone, processing everything. All were honest. These are intense, Rachel said. Painful. But they hit in a way your work never has. Because now I'm inside them, Emma explained. Not just observing. Michael came to the exhibit even though he was having a rough day. Emma saw him standing in front of a photo she'd taken of him in the hospital, vulnerable, but not defeated. Tears filled his eyes. "You see me," he said when she approached. "You really see me." "I always did. I was just too scared to admit it." 2 weeks later, Michael woke up and couldn't stand. His heart was failing faster than the doctors expected. Emma got the call in the middle of a shoot and dropped everything, racing to the hospital. When she arrived, Michael was hooked up to machines, breath shallow. But he smiled. "Hey, photographer." Emma held his hand, every defense collapsing. "No. Not yet. Please." "Emma," he squeezed her hand with what strength he had left. "Look at me." She did, tears falling. "You know my only regret?" Michael asked, voice weak. "That we didn't have more time." "But Emma, look at what we packed into the time we had. Look at how many lives we lived in 6 months." "It's not enough," Emma cried. "It never would have been," he said softly. "But it was real. It was ours. And you stopped just photographing life. You lived it. You felt it. You loved. Even knowing it would hurt." "It hurts," she whispered. "I know. And I'm sorry." Michael brought her hand to his heart. "But promise me something. When I'm not here anymore, don't go back to that empty apartment. Don't go back to that 200mm lens. Keep living. Keep feeling. Because Emma, you weren't made to observe. You were made to exist. I don't know how to do that without you." "Yes, you do." He smiled through the pain. "You already are. You're here, holding my hand, letting your heart break. That's living, Emma. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts." The doctors came in then, saying they needed to take him for an emergency procedure. Emma was forced to let go, and Michael held her hand until the very last second. "If I don't make it," he began. "You will," she insisted desperately. "If I don't," he said gently, "thank you. For your courage. For letting me love you. For letting me show you that life is worth living, even when it's short." "Michael. And Emma?" He pulled her closer, whispering urgently. "If you smile at the end, even if you're crying, then it was all worth it." They wheeled him away, and Emma was left alone in the sterile hallway, the world collapsing around her. But she didn't run. She didn't shut down. She didn't hide behind her camera. She sat and waited. Because that's what you do for the people you love. You stay. Even when it's impossible. Even when every cell in your body begs you to flee. You stay. And you love. Until the end. Hours dragged by like an eternity. Emma looked out the hospital window at the Seattle night, the city lights flickering like earthbound stars. Somewhere out there, people were living safe, protected, small lives. And Emma realized she didn't envy that safety anymore. Because she had something most people spend their whole lives searching for. She had real. Even if it was brief. She had love. Even knowing it would end. And when the door opened and the doctor stepped out with that expression Emma had learned far too early in life, she didn't fall apart. She breathed. Once. Twice. Then she went to see Michael one last time, ready to honor the promise she'd made. She was going to live. For him. For them. For all the love they'd fit into such a short amount of time. Because the truth Michael had been trying to teach her from the beginning was this. Life isn't measured in years. It's measured in moments that make you feel alive. And Emma had lived a lifetime in 6 months. Emma stepped into the quiet room. Michael looked like he was sleeping, but she knew better. The monitor beside him showed a flat line, the alarm already silenced. He looked peaceful, finally free from the pain he had carried for so long. She moved closer, took his hand, still warm, and let herself feel everything. The grief. The gratitude. The love. The loss. All of it at once, a wave strong enough to drown her. But she didn't drown. She breathed through it. "You taught me how to live," Emma whispered, tears slipping down her face. "And now I have to learn how to live without you." She squeezed his hand. "But you also taught me that love doesn't end just because someone leaves. It stays. In the lessons. In the memories. In all the ways we change." Emma stayed as long as they allowed, holding his hand, remembering. The bookstore cafe. Their talks about poetry. The way he laughed at her terrible jokes. The way he looked at her like she was art, not just the person behind the camera. When she finally stepped out of the hospital, the sun was rising over Seattle. Emma stopped at the exit, letting the cold morning air hit her face. And then, through the tears, she did something that even surprised herself. She smiled. Not a smile of happiness, but of recognition. Of gratitude. Of a promise kept. "It was all worth it," she whispered to the sky. The months that followed were the hardest of Emma's life. Not because of the pain, she expected the pain. But because of the constant choice not to let it shut her down again. Every morning was a decision: hide or emerge. Observe or participate. Survive or live. She chose to live. Not always gracefully. Not always well. But she chose. Emma returned to photography, but she wasn't the same. She no longer shot from a distance. She got close. She talked to people before taking their picture. Asked for their stories. She captured not perfect poses, but human moments, the way a bride looked at her groom when she thought no one was watching. A father's hand trembling as he held his baby for the first time. Tears of joy tangled with fear. "Your photos have changed," Rachel said during a portfolio review. "They have soul now. Vulnerability. Like you finally understand what you're capturing." "I do," Emma replied simply. "I understand that every moment is temporary. And that doesn't make them less valuable. It makes them more." She started a personal project, photographing people who were living despite something. Cancer survivors. Parents who had lost children. People with terminal illnesses. But not as victims, as fighters. As human beings who stared into the abyss and still chose to love anyway. "Why do you do this?" one man asked during a session. He was in the final stages of ALS, body failing, eyes still bright and alive. "Because someone taught me that living isn't about how much time you have," Emma said. "It's about what you do with the time you have. And you're living more truthfully than many people who have decades ahead of them." The project became an exhibition. Emma called it Eternal Temporaries, a title Michael would have loved. On opening night, she was nervous in a way she had never been before. These photos were personal. They were real. And Michael was in every one of them, even when he wasn't pictured. He was in the way she had learned to see light. In the closeness she now sought instead of avoided. In the love with which she captured every subject. A woman approached her, eyes wet. "This one," she said, pointing to a photo of Michael smiling in the hospital. "My husband died of cancer last year. And this picture, this is exactly how I want to remember him. Not as someone sick. But as someone who lived." Emma felt her heart ache and expand all at once. "He taught me that," she said softly. "To see people beyond their pain." "Who?" Emma looked at the photo. "The love of my life." The woman understood without Emma needing to explain. She squeezed Emma's hand and whispered, "Thank you for sharing this. For showing us it's possible to love even when you know it's going to hurt." After the exhibition ended and everyone left, Emma stood alone among the photos. She stopped in front of the last one, Michael and her, taken by Rachel at the previous exhibit. They were looking at each other, not at the camera. The love between them unmistakable, almost painful. "We didn't get forever," Emma said aloud, knowing he wasn't there to hear it but needing to say it anyway. "But we got everything." A year after Michael's death, Emma woke up in a new apartment. Not the minimalist, temporary space she used to live in. She had bought a place. Small, but hers. The walls were covered with photos. Of Michael, of her parents, of the people she had photographed, of moments that mattered. It wasn't a space to pass through anymore. It was a home. She was drinking coffee when her phone rang. It was a woman named Sophie, who had seen the exhibition and reached out months ago. "Emma? My sister just got a terminal diagnosis. And she's shutting down. She doesn't want to see anyone. Doesn't want to talk. Do you think you could, maybe talk to her?" Emma felt the familiar fear rise, returning to that place, that pain. But then she remembered the promise. "Yes," she said. "I can." Sophie's sister, Clara, was 25 and had just been told she had months, maybe a year. When Emma arrived, Clara was wrapped in a blanket, eyes distant. "Sophie shouldn't have called you," Clara muttered. "I don't need some emotional phototherapy or whatever this is." "I didn't come to take pictures," Emma said, sitting beside her. "I came to tell you a story." And she did. About Michael. About how she ran at first. How she came back. How 6 months changed everything. "He died," Clara said when Emma finished. "So what's the point? You ended up hurting anyway." "Yes," Emma admitted. "I did. I still do, some days." But Clara, the alternative wasn't not hurting. It was not living. It was reaching the end with nothing to look back on except fear. "I'm not brave like you." "I wasn't brave," Emma said. "I was terrified. But you know what Michael told me? That courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing things in spite of it." She took Clara's hand. "You don't have to be brave right now. You just have to be open to the possibility that living, really living, is still worth it." Months later, Emma received a photo. Clara, smiling, surrounded by friends. The caption read, "Living. Hurting. But living. Thank you." Emma kept that photo like a treasure. Because it proved that Michael's love hadn't ended when he died. It had expanded. Through her. Through the people she touched. Like ripples in a lake, spreading endlessly. One autumn afternoon, exactly 2 years after she met Michael in that bookstore, Emma went back. She picked up the same Ansel Adams book, sat in the same corner. And she wasn't alone, not really. She carried Michael in every brave choice she made. In every moment she chose presence over distance. In every photo she captured with love instead of technique. Emma opened her notebook, a habit she'd picked up from Michael, and wrote. "It's been 2 years. 2 years since you walked into my life and changed everything. And today I finally understand what you tried to teach me from the beginning. Loving fully, knowing it won't last, doesn't make love less real. It makes it precious. Living fully, knowing it ends, doesn't make life less meaningful. It makes it sacred. And feeling deeply, even knowing it will hurt, isn't weakness. It's the purest form of courage. You taught me that the opposite of death isn't eternal life. It's intense life. It's presence. It's love without holding back. So thank you. For showing me it's worth having a broken heart if it means it was full first. For teaching me that fear of loss shouldn't keep me from loving. For proving that 6 months of truth outweigh an entire lifetime of safety. I still miss you. Every day. But I'm not afraid to feel anymore. Because you showed me that feeling, even when it hurts, is proof that we're alive. If we're meant to go, then let it be after living completely. With you, I finally lived. And now, I keep living. For us. For me. For everyone who forgot how. We didn't get forever. But we got everything. Emma closed the notebook and looked out the window. Outside, people walked by, some rushing, some drifting, some fully alive. And Emma smiled. Through the tears, through the longing, through the ache that would never completely fade. She smiled because she had learned the secret Michael tried to teach her. Life is temporary. Love is temporary. Everything is temporary. And that's not a tragedy. It's what makes everything extraordinary. Emma picked up her camera, the 50mm lens, always the 50mm now, and stepped out onto the streets of Seattle. Ready to capture. Ready to live. Ready to love. Because if life is temporary, then every moment is a gift. And Emma had finally learned not to waste a single one. She had learned how to die smiling. Not because death was joyful, but because life had been real. And in the end, that was all that ever mattered. Enjoyed the video? Smash that like button and subscribe for more awesome stories. I'll be waiting for you in the next story.